They didn't just drop a trailer, they dropped a warning, because Bridgerton Season 4 Part 2 isn't here to flirt anymore. It's here to expose, to corner, and to force every character to finally pay the price for the fantasies they've been hiding behind. The first look makes one thing painfully clear. The masquerade is over, and the Ton is sharpening its knives. From the very first moments of the Season 4 Part 2 trailer, the tone feels different, heavier, quieter, and far more dangerous. This isn't the soft curiosity of Part 1 where longing could still exist safely in stolen glances and half-finished thoughts. This is the phase where consequences enter the room and refuse to leave. The trailer confirms that the story has officially shifted from romantic tension to emotional reckoning, and Benedict Bridgerton is standing directly in its path. The charming drifter, the observer, the man who always hovered just outside responsibility, he no longer has that luxury, and the Ton knows it. What the trailer finally confirms is that Benedict's in-between phase is done. No more floating, no more pretending that indecision is freedom. The Ton doesn't reward hesitation, and Season 4 Part 2 makes that brutally clear. Society is watching him now, not with amusement, but with expectation. Queen Charlotte's interest no longer feels like playful curiosity. It feels calculated, strategic, almost threatening. Her gaze isn't asking who Benedict wants to be, it's deciding who he must become. And then there's the obsession. Yes, obsession, because that's what the trailer quietly reveals. Benedict is still searching for the lady in silver, but the energy has shifted. This is no longer romantic yearning wrapped in mystery. This is fixation. He's not chasing a woman anymore, he's chasing a feeling. A version of himself that felt chosen, understood, untouchable for one perfect night. And the trailer confirms that this longing is bleeding into every corner of his life, distracting him, destabilizing him, and slowly unraveling the carefully curated detachment he's relied on for years. What's especially striking is how trapped Benedict looks. Not trapped by marriage itself, but by the impossible choice between who society demands he be and who he actually is when no one is watching. The trailer frames him differently this time. Not as the free-spirited brother, but as a man being backed into a corner. Violet's patience feels thinner. The Ton's fascination feels sharper. And the space Benedict once occupied so comfortably suddenly feels claustrophobic. Season 4 Part 2 also confirms that this is no longer just Benedict's internal struggle. The pressure is external now, visible, suffocating. Whispers follow him. Expectations tighten around him. The rules he once skirted now loom larger than ever. And the trailer doesn't rush this realization. It lets it sit, letting the weight of it sink in slowly, uncomfortably. This is a man realizing that refusing to choose has consequences too, and often the cruelest ones. And just when Benedict seems closest to breaking, the trailer reminds us of one uncomfortable truth. The Ton is always watching, waiting, ready to reward obedience and punish deviation. The question isn't whether Benedict feels trapped anymore. It's whether he even sees a way out. Because once society decides it's time for you to fall in line, how much freedom do you really have left? Or worse, what happens when the choice you're finally forced to make costs you everything you thought you were protecting? She is standing directly at its center, whether the Ton is ready to accept that or not. The first look quietly but firmly confirms that Sophie's role has shifted from mystery to emotional anchor, and that shift changes everything. She is no longer just the girl from the ball or the shadow Benedict can romanticize from a safe distance. She is real, visible, and impossible to ignore. And that reality is exactly where the danger begins. The trailer makes the class divide between Benedict and Sophie impossible to soften or romanticize anymore. It's no longer implied through glances or hushed conversations. It's unavoidable. Every interaction between them feels heavier, charged with things that cannot be spoken aloud without consequences. Sophie knows exactly who Benedict is. Not the fantasy version, not the masked illusion, but the man shaped by privilege and protection. Benedict, on the other hand, is still clinging to a version of Sophie that society briefly allowed him to adore. And that imbalance is where the heartbreak quietly takes root. What the trailer confirms is devastating in its simplicity. Sophie understands the rules of this world far better than Benedict ever has. While he has always had the freedom to drift, to explore emotion without cost, Sophie has lived her entire life calculating survival. The first look emphasizes this not through dramatic speeches, but through her restraint, her caution, the way she carries herself. like every choice, comes with a price tag she cannot afford to ignore. And that awareness makes every moment between them feel tense, fragile, and painfully real. Season 4, Part 2 also confirms that Sophie's story will no longer be softened for the sake of romance. Her reality remains harsh and unyielding. She is still under Lady Araminta's control, still navigating a world where silence is safety and dreams are dangerous. The trailer doesn't glamorize this. It lets it sit uncomfortably in the background, reminding us that Sophie's stakes have always been higher. Loving Benedict isn't just emotionally risky, it's socially and materially dangerous. What's especially heartbreaking is how aware Sophie is of the line she cannot cross. Unlike Benedict, who is only now learning that love comes with consequences, Sophie has always known. The trailer strongly suggests that as Benedict steps closer, Sophie may begin to pull away, not out of indifference but out of self-preservation. And that choice feels painfully realistic, because for Sophie, love isn't something you fall into blindly, it's something you weigh against survival. This creates a brutal shift in their dynamic. For the first time, Benedict is not being chased, admired, or safely adored from afar. He is being denied. Sophie's restraint forces him into unfamiliar territory, wanting someone who will not meet him halfway without certainty. And that denial challenges him more than any societal expectation ever has. It forces him to look inward instead of outward, to question whether his feelings are enough when action is required. The trailer also quietly dismantles the Cinderella illusion that has hovered over their story. The idea that love alone can erase class divides is no longer treated as romantic fantasy. We see hints of judgment, whispers, and social consequences that make it clear how unforgiving the ton becomes when its rules are threatened. Sophie isn't just risking heartbreak. She's risking her livelihood, her safety, and her dignity. And the trailer makes sure we understand that she knows it. What makes Sophie's strength stand out is that she is not waiting to be saved. She is making deliberate choices, even when they hurt. The first look implies that Sophie does not believe a happy ending is something meant for her, and that belief shapes every decision she makes. Meanwhile, Benedict is only just beginning to understand that love is not something you can admire from a distance and abandon when it becomes inconvenient. The tension between them becomes almost unbearable because they are no longer moving toward the same fantasy. Sophie is choosing reality. Benedict is still learning what that reality costs, and the more he understands it, the more trapped he feels. Not just by society, but by his own hesitation. The trailer frames this realization as slow and painful, filled with silence, restraint, and emotional distance that speaks louder than words ever could. Every glance between them feels like a question neither of them is ready to answer. Every pause feels intentional, heavy with what's being left unsaid. And as Sophie steps further into the light while refusing to be treated as a secret, the real question becomes impossible to ignore. When loving someone means destroying the life they've fought to survive, is choosing them still an act of courage, or the most selfish mistake of all? If Part 2 of the trailer makes one thing unmistakably clear, it's that the real battle is no longer just about romance. It's about identity, exposure, and the cost of being seen. Season 4, Part 2 places Benedict directly under a microscope, and the pressure is no longer subtle. The Tun's fascination with him has shifted into something far more dangerous: expectation. The kind that doesn't ask what you want, but demands compliance. For years, Benedict existed comfortably on the edge of responsibility, watching his siblings step into duty while convincing himself that freedom meant never choosing at all. But the trailer confirms that this illusion is finally collapsing. Queen Charlotte's presence feels especially unsettling in this first look. Her interest no longer carries charm or indulgence. It feels strategic, calculated, almost predatory. Approval is no longer a gift. It's leverage, and the trailer strongly suggests that her attention comes with conditions Benedict may not be willing to meet. The Tun isn't inviting him to settle down. It's cornering him into conformity. And for the first time, Benedict seems to understand that refusal is no longer a harmless quirk. It's a threat to the order everyone else relies on. What makes this shift so heavy is how internal Benedict's struggle becomes. The trailer hints that his greatest conflict is no longer whether he wants marriage or stability, but whether love that disrupts the system is worth the destruction it will inevitably cause. He begins to notice things he once ignored: Sophie's restraint, her discomfort, the way she carefully measures every word, every glance, every step. And with that awareness comes guilt. The kind that doesn't fade once it appears. The first look suggests that Benedict is torn between desire and protection, wanting Sophie, but also realizing that being seen with him could ruin her. The fantasy of the masquerade is gone, replaced by daylight truths and unforgiving social structures. And the more Benedict understands those structures, the more trapped he feels inside them. Freedom, once his defining trait, now feels hollow, almost selfish. Another powerful element the trailer quietly confirms is how silence becomes a weapon in this phase of the story. Conversations feel unfinished. Confessions are delayed. Words are swallowed because saying them out loud would make everything real. This emotional restraint creates a suffocating atmosphere where everything important remains unsaid, yet painfully obvious. The Tun thrives on spectacle, but Benedict and Sophie's story exists in the spaces between public appearances, in stolen moments, interrupted thoughts, and emotional pauses that linger far too long. The trailer also suggests that Benedict's identity itself is under threat, not just his role as a Bridgerton, but his sense of self. The freedom he once associated with drifting now feels like avoidance. He begins to realize that refusing to choose is still a choice, and often the cruelest one, because while he hesitates, Sophie carries the weight of consequence alone, and that realization is devastating. Once Benedict understands this, there is no returning to the man he was before. Season 4, Part 2 doesn't frame this as a transformation into someone new. It frames it as a stripping away. The illusions, the protection of privilege, the comfort of being admired without being challenged. The trailer leaves us with the sense that Benedict is standing at the edge of something irreversible. Whatever decision he makes will define him permanently. And in a world that punishes vulnerability and difference, choosing love is no longer romantic. It's dangerous. The first look also widens its focus beyond Benedict and Sophie, suggesting that the social world of Bridgerton itself is becoming harsher and less forgiving. In earlier seasons, scandal felt entertaining and temporary, but now the rules are tightening. Judgment is quiet, relentless, and inescapable. There are no explosive confrontations, just the constant presence of eyes watching, whispers following every movement, reputations hanging by a thread. For Sophie, this atmosphere is familiar. She has always lived under scrutiny, just from a different angle. But for Benedict, it's new. And the trailer strongly suggests that as his attachment to Sophie deepens, his understanding of how cruel this world can be grows with it. He no longer sees the Tun as a playground he can wander through freely. He sees it as a system designed to protect itself at all costs. And that realization changes him. He becomes quieter, more guarded, less carefree. The charm that once made him untouchable now feels fragile. And as that fragility becomes visible, the danger intensifies. Because the Tun does not forgive weakness, especially when it threatens the hierarchy it depends on. The trailer leaves us suspended in this tension, watching a man who has always avoided choosing realize that he is running out of time. Every pause feels heavier. Every moment of silence feels deliberate. And the question that lingers uncomfortably at the end of this first look is impossible to ignore. When the world finally forces you to choose, what happens if the choice you make destroys the very person you're trying to protect? By the time the Season 4 Part 2 trailer reaches its final moments, it becomes painfully clear that Bridgerton is no longer interested in comfort, fantasy, or easy resolutions. This is the phase where everything tightens, emotionally, socially, and morally. The story widens its lens, beyond just Benedict and Sophie, and exposes how unforgiving the world around them truly is. The Tun no longer feels like a glittering backdrop for romance. It feels hostile, watchful, almost predatory. And the trailer confirms that anyone who threatens its rules will not be met with scandalous amusement, but with punishment. What stands out most is how judgment is framed. Not loud or explosive, but quiet and relentless. There are no dramatic accusations or public humiliations shown, only the suffocating presence of eyes that never look away. Whispers that follow footsteps, reputations balanced on a single misstep. This kind of scrutiny is far more dangerous because it leaves no room to explain, no moment to defend. And the trailer makes it clear that this pressure will define every choice Benedict and Sophie make going forward. For Sophie, this world has always been cruel. Her life has been shaped by caution, obedience, and survival. But the first look confirms that her strength is no longer about endurance alone. It's about agency. Sophie is no longer simply reacting to circumstances. She is making deliberate decisions, even when those decisions cost her emotionally. The trailer strongly suggests that she will refuse to be treated as a secret, a fantasy, or a temporary escape. And that refusal is powerful. It reframes her not as a Cinderella waiting for rescue, but as a woman protecting her identity in a world determined to erase it. Benedict, meanwhile, is finally forced to confront the implications of loving someone who exists outside the safety of his privilege. Loving Sophie is no longer a private feeling, it's a public challenge. To the ton, to his family, to the expectations that come with the Bridgerton name. And the trailer hints that this pressure will test not only his courage, but his loyalty. Because choosing Sophie isn't just about romance anymore. It's about defiance. Violet Bridgerton's role also appears to deepen in unexpected ways. The trailer subtly suggests a conflict between maternal love and social survival that feels heavier than anything we've seen from her before. For the first time, even she may be forced to confront the cost of maintaining respectability. Supporting Benedict could mean risking everything the family represents in society's eyes. And that tension mirrors Benedict's own struggle perfectly. Love versus legacy, desire versus duty. The isolation both Benedict and Sophie experience becomes more pronounced in this final stretch of the trailer. Despite being surrounded by people, they appear emotionally alone, unable to fully confide in anyone without risking exposure. This isolation intensifies the emotional weight of their story. Love in this context isn't comforting, it's terrifying. It demands honesty when silence feels safer. It demands action when hesitation feels easier. And the trailer makes it painfully clear that Part 2 will not allow either of them to hide behind excuses anymore. Every lingering look feels like a question that cannot be ignored. Every pause feels like a decision waiting to be made. The chemistry between them is quieter now. Less playful, but far more intense. It's no longer about attraction. It's about choice, about what they are willing to lose in order to stay true to themselves. And in a world as rigid and unforgiving as the Ton, that choice carries irreversible consequences. The trailer leaves us with a sense of inevitability that something is about to break. The safety nets are gone. The illusions have been stripped away. Benedict is no longer standing on the edge, out of comfort, but out of fear. Fear of choosing wrong, fear of hurting Sophie, fear of becoming the man society wants him to be instead of the man he truly is. And yet, the most unsettling truth the trailer confirms is this: avoiding the choice is no longer possible. Season 4 Part 2 isn't asking whether love exists, that much is undeniable. It's asking whether love is worth the fallout, whether it's worth the judgment, the loss of status, the reshaping of identity. Because in Bridgerton's world, choosing love isn't a fairy tale ending, it's a declaration of war. So when the masks are gone, the truth is exposed, and the Ton is watching closer than ever before. Will Benedict finally step forward and choose Sophie, or will he choose the safety of a world that has never truly allowed him to be free?